Well, hello there. This is my first attempt at doing a serious video, and I'm not really sure what I wanted to talk about. I know that I do not want to do comic book reviews, and as you can see from this image, I really don't have the materials that I need to do a proper video. So I guess I'm just going to start off with some things that I have in my collection, especially in the last few years. I've been interested in exploring about what the golden and silver age of comics were all about, and I've been doing most research mostly on online databases. I have several Golden Age books, collected editions like the Essentials from Marvel or the Showcase Presents volumes from DC. And the thing that I don't have a problem getting into Silver Age books, but Golden Age is a bit more complicated. These are not very good. Technically, proficiently, they're not very good. And I don't think that anyone who is alive today can think that they are good. Uh, a few years ago, I bought the two volumes called The Golden Age of Marvel Comics that Marvel put out. This year's volume one. It's got a nice Kurt Scheffenberger, I think, cover. Let's see now. No, Ray Lago doing a Kurt Scheffenberger impression, I guess. And well, when you start off going through all these pages, these are not very good. The stories aren't very good. The art is very good, and I suppose that's normal considering that these were the first times that the industry was trying to. The industry was still beginning. Was still young. A lot of young people not knowing exactly what to do. So I can't fault them for not being technically proficient. So did I enjoy these books? Yes, but not for the stories themselves. The problem here, the what you need to do is you need the right mindset. You need to be interested in finding out what these stories were about, the context in which they were published, and to find out how you what what good points you can find out about them. For example, here is the origin of the Submariner, and by Bill Everett, as you can see. Uh, this is not the best comic book story ever. Artwork is really patchy. Of course, it's not as bad as Carl Burgos' Human Torch. This is not the Human Torch origin story, but it does feature his first fight with the Submariner, where it is covered by both them. Burgos and Everett work with other people to get the story across, and this is the cover or rather the splash page for the story. And here it is. They're fighting together for the first time. It was published in let's see now. This was published in Marvel Mystery Comics number 17 in 1941, but it's not really a good story, especially by the time they were already getting ready to jump into World War II, and the United States were ready to jump into World War II. That is, and the stories were going to become a lot more propaganda than proper decent stories. Oh, the Germany and Japanese soldiers look like in caricatures. They don't look like real people. Here, here is the Return of the Red Skull from Captain America #3, and this is Jack Kirby. It's not, as you can see this. It is Jack Kirby. It's unmistakably Jack Kirby, but it's not the best Jack Kirby ever. Uh, this is not the same character that gave us romance comics in the 1950s, gave us the Marvel Revolution in the 1960s, and that did the Fourth World in the 1970s. This is still young Kirby, still trying to find out what he can do, and but just letting loose. You you already has all the action. You can see from this page over here, the action is all there. So it was already good enough for you already have technical proficiency, but not the polish. Here he is working on no, this is him actually. No, this story is by this time I think Kirby already left. Let's see now, the Vision. The Vision is by no, it's still Simon and Kirby, yeah, but it's very rushed. The splash pages in. They're very rushed. They're not the best stories that you can find. Still another Captain America tale. But when the artists and writers came back from the war and as they got older, 1945, 1948, the stories got better. See, here it is, 1951. This is Russ Heath working on a Marvel Boy story. Technically, it's a lot better, a lot more polished, a lot more quality, even if it's still a very standard type of plot. Alien invasion associated with communists, very 1950s. Doesn't make much sense. This is a nice little average story right here from Venus number 18. Yeah. A lot better than the stuff he was doing in Submariner. Very, very detailed, actually. And the plot's quite nice. Horror stories. Venus started as a romance comic, but halfway through its run, Bill Everett started drawing it. It became a horror comic. Here it is, stuff from the Young Man number 24, Human Torch, and Captain America. When they tried doing the 1950s revival, the stories were very different. That's why they didn't go anywhere. They lasted for about 9 months, and they were published across 2 anthologies, Young Man and what was the other one? I can't remember. Men's Adventures. And they brought back all 3 titles for a few other issues. Submariner held on for the longest because they were trying to set up a television series, but they couldn't. And they took the time to go through a few of the 1950s stories, properties. Here it is, Black Knight by, if I'm not mistaken, this is exactly Joe Maneely, trying to do a much more complete Al Foster. This is very good. It's a real shame that Joe Maneely died. He died in a train accident in 1958, and he was very prolific. He could draw anything, and if Maneely hadn't died, Jack Kirby might not have had a foothold to become the main artist in the Marvel Revolution. Can you imagine what it would be like if this guy was sharing art duties with Kirby and Ditko? Which style would have become dominant? Maybe John Buscema would not have evolved into a different direction, would not have evolved to emulate Kirby. Same for John Romita. So these 2 comics might have gone for in a complete different direction. Now, speaking of Jack Kirby, this is from Yellow Claw, and this is much better than the previous Captain America Vision stories. As you can see, Kirby had very limited room to tell the stories. They were 4 or 5 pagers, so the plot was very rushed. But Kirby did some pretty interesting techniques, like on this page, to get all the action across. Very good. This was about 6 years before Fantastic Four #1, so you can see that he was already getting ready to introduce new concepts, new styles of artwork into the comics world. Unfortunately, the second volume was not very good. They focused too much on superheroes. They didn't have any stories from the 1950s. But I guess they took the time to introduce the Human Torch origin story, which they hadn't published on the previous volume. Here it is, not Carl Burgos's finest moment. very poor lettering at the time, but I suppose that's what they had to work with. I think that White Jacket was still editing. Yes, this is for Marvel Comics #1, so White Jacket was still editing, not Kirby, not Simon and Kirby. They have a few other heroes, but they're not very good. This is Joe Simon writing and drawing. This is Fiery Mask. I can see why he is forgotten. Not very original. Red Raven by Simon and Kirby. This story is actually quite good. Interesting place here on the first 2 pages. And what else we got here? I bought these years ago. I don't remember exactly all the stories. There's a Vision, the origin of the Vision, and the origin of Captain America, which they haven't published on the other one. A lot of Kirby over here. They also have the Cube Boy, which was also published in Captain America. It was a backup feature in Captain America for the first 5 issues, I guess, and it was also done by Kirby, and they mentioned the city of Attila. I guess Kirby kept it in his mind for years, and that's the name he used when he came up with the Humans. They never tried to connect the two, but I guess there's a story opening for that. There's this website, the end of that takes care of chronologies for more obscure heroes, and they they proposed that idea. It wasn't my idea. They already read that somewhere. Here it is, The Wizard. This is by Al Avison and Al Gabriel, who sort of became the main artists after Kirby left on superheroes. They, there were a lot of others, but from the beginning, it was them. This story was published. Let's see now, in USA Comics #1, which was another anthology that had several superheroes. Here's more Submariner Human Torch. These are not very good. Carl Cooper, I think, was drawing. Noticeable over here. This one looks Cooper, though. Very strange artwork. Very, let's see now. Yeah, very strange. Almost cartoony. This is not what we think of when we think of a proper superhero story. It's typical Golden Age fare, not very polished. Same thing for the Human Torch over here. At this time, Burgos was not working on a strip. The story is drawn by, I think they were identified as, no, it's Burgos. I don't get it. It's not. It doesn't look like the other one. But it's from 1941. There's another Captain America story by Simon and Kirby. I guess they wanted to put some good stuff in there. Black Marvel #1. No, this Black Marvel was not the first Black Marvel story. This was All Winners #1. This is not the first Black Marvel story, but it's already written by Stan Lee. I think it's his first comic book story. His first story was the text feature in Captain America #3. Art by Avison and Gabriel. The uniform's pretty good. It's a shame that it's also not very polished. A bit generic. They didn't take the time to go through other characters that were not part of proper superheroes. There's nothing from the 2 space titles that Marvel had at the time, Space Squadron, and I can't remember the other one, and nothing from the Jungle Action magazines, so like Jen of the Jungle. They had a character called Lozar, which appeared in Jungle Tales, and nothing from the spy features. So it's good that they published Captain America, the first Captain America story in there, because apart from that, I read it over here in Portuguese. This is the Brazilian edition of classic Captain America stories. This reprints Captain America comics #1 and #2 in Portuguese. And it's Kirby and Simon too. Some of these stories were later adapted by Kirby and Stanley on Tales of Suspense, and you can even see them on the Captain America unanimated series. Here it is. Already some good Kirby shining off from here. Um, this is from the first story. Professor Reinstein, very quaint. So, yeah, but I was just trying to say in the beginning, did I enjoy these? Yes and no. These are not if these were news stories, they would never get published, of course. But if you're interested in history, you need to take the time to read these. You have to study them, and you have to understand the way in that the stories were written and drawn. It was not the same industry. They had nothing from before that they could emulate that could inspire them. These were the first. These are raw tools that they're starting with. Just their imagination, pencil, paper, and a typewriter, and basically that's what they did. And well, I don't want to ramble anymore. I'm going to stop this one now. I'm going to see how it goes, and if this goes okay, I'll try to do another one on the same topic, but uh, signing. See, so bye bye now.